Mike Tomlin's post-game press conference after our loss to the Buffalo Bills. Rough game. Rough game. Fair to say, it definitely at minimum contends for our worst game of the year. That's the thing. At minimum, it contends for the worst game of the year. 7-3 at half. Another game where we were leading at halftime. And by the way, if the game ended at halftime, the Steelers would be 9-3. In 9 games, we have had the lead at half, and we have 6 wins. So, I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding something, right? Last year, this isn't 5 years ago, this isn't 10 years ago. Last year, 365 days ago, the Steelers were the number 1 team in the third quarter. And now we're practically the worst, if not the worst. How the hell does that happen, right? You can't say it's a different coaching staff. It's not. Still Tomlin. Still Arthur Smith. Still Terrell Austin. Right? It's the same coaches for the most part. A couple changes here and there at the lower coaching levels. But for the most part, it's the same. And it's a complete 180. Do you blame the personnel at that point? Is it on the players? Like, a year ago, we're fantastic at second half adjustments. And we weren't starting quick. It was slow starts, adjust at halftime, and go. Did you lose it? Hold on 1 second. I gotta help Ollie. Oh, come here. There you go. Okay. But now this year, we do have fast starts for the most part. Obviously, last week was a huge exception. It was a slow start for both teams. But, how many times have we put up points on our first drive of a game? How many of those have been touchdowns? Like, we've actually been playing somewhat well early on in games. And then it's over once you come out of the half. A big part of it is time of possession, I think. A big part of it is the amount of plays. Right now, I think the Steelers' defense has outsnapped the offense total over the course of the year by like 159 or something. It's ridiculous. It's in the 150s, right? That's 3 games, basically. The Bills played 31 more snaps on offense than the Steelers' offense did. So the defense was out there 31 more plays. Like, that is insane. It is bad. When we conclude a 17-game regular season, it's possible that just by time of possession or plays, the Steelers' defense played another 5 games, basically, or 5 more games than the offense did. Out of total snaps. That's insane. So let's get into what Tomlin had to say. But, it's just in simple words, in nice words, it's not even close to good enough. And how we just can't hold a lead and how we suck coming out of half, again, after just a year of being great coming out of half, it's a little dumbfounding. It really is.
You know, not a lot needs to be said, man. That's an awful performance by us, but it's us. We didn't do a lot well tonight, obviously. We didn't possess the ball or maintain ball security on offense. We were highly penalized. We allowed those guys to run the ball. Didn't play 60 minutes of action, didn't play complimentary football. And so we got to absorb that result. You know, we're certainly not going to feel sorry for ourselves. That's this business we're in. Had some injuries. Pat Queen had a contusion. He wasn't able to run. And so he wasn't allowed to come back into the game. James Pierre is in the concussion protocol.
Okay.
Questions?
Oh, that's it?
That you can pinpoint or explain some of the second half issues you've had this season?
Not putting together 60 minutes of action. Certainly, they're tangible things, you know, things that you and I both see, but we better look at it hard, because it's usually something beneath the surface that's producing that, particularly in the consistency in which is occurring. You know, that third quarter was awful. It was awful last week, and so we got to absorb the responsibility of that.
The third time you guys have led at halftime and then allowed another team to win. What do you guys as a coaching staff have to do better when other teams are adjusting to what you guys do?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. We didn't play a good half of football. We turned the ball over. It produced scores, and there's nothing mystical about that. It's really similar to last week.
Offensively, are you avoiding passing over the middle of the field? If not, how to explain so little production there?
It's just not enough production. You know, we're not going to make excuses for it.
Why wasn't a package for Darnell Washington used earlier than starting in the fourth quarter? And two, it seems the schematic for Coach Smith is not really beyond 10 yards because of passing. I know I'm a layman, but I'm interested in that.
All of those questions are reasonable given what we put out there. We got a lot of work in front of us.
Issues that were popping up in the run game, do those stem from a lack of physicality, and how do you fix that at this point in the season?
You know, I thought it just, you know, was, as it wore on, the attrition component of it became a factor. I'm not going to say too much tonight. I'll take a look at the tape, but certainly it was below the line and increasingly so.
How much did Derek Harmon's absence impact you stopping the run?
You know, whenever you're missing people, it's impactful.
Solutions to turn this thing around exist in your building?
Certainly.
What gives you the confidence that they do?
Keep watching.
58 yards rushing today. So what do you have to do to be effective game in and game out with running the ball?
You know, we got to win possession downs. We got to maintain possession of it. We can't turn the ball over. It'll produce more snaps for us. And if we do that, man, we'll probably have more than 58 or whatever it is that you mentioned.
It seemed like you guys kept your safeties back more to stop the pass, and that worked early. But what did you guys need to do with the guys up front to stop the run while doing that?
We had an appropriate safety allocation relative to the run. We did.
Was the offense limited by Aaron's wrist?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't.
A number of games where other teams had backups in on the offensive line, and your defensive front hasn't seemed to be able to take advantage of that. Why do you think that is?
You know, good question. I don't have the answer to it. I know that, you know, they weren't in a whole bunch of one-dimensional passing circumstances today, and that's usually where the backup game shows.
Do you look at game plan or personnel changes offensively?
I'm looking at everything.
And also the time of possession. Isn't that critical for your defense to get a little rest in terms of that as well?
That's what I was talking about when I referred to the attrition component of it.
Mike, how do you guys encounter teams that kind of commit to the run the way the Bills did? It seemed like a lot of the runs that you guys were running, you were running it into the teeth of them.
I'm sorry?
You guys
Oh,
encounter
you
when
don't
teams
with
are
yourself.
doing a run cut, committing to stop the run the way the Bills did. It seemed like a lot of plays they were just charging forward.
You know, run it, pass it, man. We just weren't successful enough today, man, to sustain any type of ball control or produce enough points to be functional today, and that's just the reality of it.
Mike, did you have a sense for how restless and frustrated the crowd was today?
I know how restless and frustrated I was, and so I assume they were in the same state we were in.
Did you have any?
You have a couple of big splash plays against you early in the third quarter, still a lot of game ahead. Do you feel like you weren't able to find an emotional response to that in addition to the on-the-field stuff?
Forget the emotional response, man. We didn't produce plays, you know. We didn't produce enough plays to put the fire out.
Couple more.
What goes through your mind when the crowd there's a crowd chanting to fire you in your home stadium?
Man, I share their frustration tonight, man. We didn't do enough. And that's just the reality of it.
Coach,
Last one.
AFC North is everything for you to win it is still in front of you. So what do you have to do to keep this team or to get this team going to win some games to possibly win the AFC?
You know, I'm not big picture oriented tonight. I'm just talking about what we did or didn't, more importantly, did not do tonight. Certainly, we understand where we are and the opportunity that's in front of us from a divisional standpoint. But that, you know, that's very secondary as we sit here tonight, man. We had a poor performance, and that's where our energy is and should be in terms of the analysis of this. All right?
Okay, so injury-wise, not that bad. And then the thing about Derek Harmon, right, is oddly enough, and don't take this as like me saying Derek's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the places or place, I guess you could call it, because the Bills ran so few running plays, like as in the type of running play or the play call. What they ran, they were literally running right to where Derek would have been. So I don't know if during the week they anticipated doing that or they wanted to do that because they knew Derek was going to be out. Or was that we're in the game and this thing seems to be working, so let's ride it? Maybe. And like I said, it's not to say that Derek would have made a difference or that Derek would have single-handedly stopped them. But I guess if you take a look at the rushing games for the games that Derek's missed, it's like staggering versus when he's in, right? The games he's played are, I guess, much better. Doesn't mean they're good, but they're much better. So one person on Twitter said, like, Derek Harmon's like an A, and then they just went plus, like just plus continued. Maybe a dozen pluses, like draft pick, if he makes that big of a difference. And then I know Deshaun Elliott, you know, he's a really nice run stuffer. So we are missing guys that stuff the run. And even then, you know, Elliott got hurt like game 1 and then missed a couple of games, 1 or 2 before getting hurt again. But when you're missing guys who play the run well, this can happen. I mean, as far as like the passing game, the Bills' leading receiver was a running back who had 33 receiving yards. Think about that. Like, if you want to take away a positive, it's that the passing defense was fine because they also didn't even try to throw, really. If the leading guy had 33 yards. But you just got ran all over. And it was the most allowed in that stadium, either being Acrisure or being Hines. And it was the most by a Steelers defense in like 50 years, since 1975, when they allowed 300 or 311. It was something crazy like that. To OJ, right? The Buffalo Bills again. And I don't know, maybe maybe guys were hurt that day. Maybe it was a bad game. I couldn't tell you. But you're going to tell me that, and again, it was a different time, and that's a Hall of Fame running back. But you're going to tell me the Steel Curtain allowed 311 rushing yards in a game? Now, when that game happened in 1975, I mean, my mom was 8 years old, right? My dad was 13. I wasn't going to be born for another 22 years. So, that's just the thing, right? Like I said, I don't know, maybe people are injured. You know, if you're old enough to remember that game in 1975, let me know. Were some guys injured that day? Was it just a bad day? Is it because it was OJ and he, was an amazing running back during his time? Just let me know, because that is insane. So, I guess not much to say that Tomlin didn't say. They played awful in almost every single aspect that you could. I mean, if you want to grasp at anything positive, like I said, the passing game, but they really didn't have to try to pass if they're running it so effectively. In place of Broderick Jones, Andrus Peat wasn't a turnstile at left tackle. He wasn't great. He wasn't Ogden or Munoz or anything like that, but he wasn't a turnstile, which is good. That's the thing. If you want to grasp at anything positive, I think Kenneth Gainwell had a really good catch. But that's kind of been par for the year for him. And actually, I have one big issue, right? And some people give the personnel in the play an issue, and I'll get into that. But 4th and 2, gotta have it, more or less the most important play of the game, and you run it with Kenneth Gainwell. Unless Jaylen Warren was injured or so out of breath that he literally could not go in there for that play, why would you not give it to Jaylen? Or I might even consider Caleb Johnson. If Jaylen is hurt or so gassed that he cannot play that play, I might send in Caleb Johnson over Kenneth Gainwell. That's number 1. Number 2. Why Jonnu? Why? Why would you put Jonnu Smith in there to block for that play? I think the personnel on that play was not a good choice. And they're continuing to not have Jaylen Warren on 3rd down. Like, you never wish injury upon someone, right? But if for any reason Kenneth Gainwell could not play 3rd down, would they turn to Jaylen or would they turn to Caleb at that point? Like, that's something that I'm genuinely curious about. Or next year, right? If they battle it out, Jaylen's number 1, Kenneth number 3, and Caleb slides in at the 2, right? Are they going to pull the same thing where, okay, Caleb, now you're the 3rd down back. Jaylen, you're the 1st and 2nd, and you're just not going to play 3rd down ever. So I got a couple gripes, but everyone does, right? Just about everyone has some issue with this game of varying degrees. So if you guys did enjoy this, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.